Shotguns are very often some of the most rage-inducing aspects of any first-person shooter. They're usually really easy to use and very satisfying to have in your hands, but they're also really annoying to get killed by because, well, just of how quickly it happens and how cheap it can feel. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy your Chaos, your local AI COD commentator. I'm sorry, I just can't get over that comment that somebody said that my voice is AI. They are definitely living rent-free in my head at the moment. Still blows my mind. And today, we're going to get salty together. We're going to talk about what I think are the 20 most hated shotguns in COD history for one reason or another. So let me know which COD shotgun you hated the most. Drop a like on the video. Thank you for all the love on the last video. Let's see if we can make this one even better. And let me know which top 20 topic you think we should do next. At number 20, the Marine SP in Black Ops 6. Starting shotgun in Black Ops 6 is very satisfying to use, but with how sweaty this game can get, and how insane the gunsmith builds can be, it gets annoying. The pump action monster has a ridiculous one-shot kill range. It's often used by players diving around corners and abusing their omni movement while instantly erasing you from the match too quickly for you to even react. It's not that the gun is overpowered. Frankly, I think it's perfectly balanced right now. It's the way people use it. The Marine SP, sweats, they're out there. They're some of the most annoying in the game. I think it's a great way to start this list today. And guys, if you are looking to get Dune Awakening, check it out at g2a.com. It is on sale right now. Link is at the top of the description. At number 19, the Grau SA12 in Black Ops Cold War. This was the new universe's equivalent of the classic Spaz 12. It was a semi-auto, just like the classic Black Ops 1 version, but the BO1 version was pretty well balanced and never felt cheap. The Grau, it can be made pretty broken in the gunsmith with a few attachments. People very quickly got annoyed. Now, despite Black Ops Cold War having a relatively long time to kill, the secondary semi-auto shotgun could be made into a 1 to 2 shot kill with massive ammo capacity, and I'll just say pretty impressive range. You can basically take all of the skill out of the engagement by just running around spamming the right trigger. Then you can put it in your back pocket and go about your way. At least the reload animation was a little long to try to balance things out, but it was still super annoying to go up against. Since we're talking about Black Ops Cold War, let's segue into number 18, the chaosgaming. Now, the community, they kind of went back and forth on this thing. Pump action shotgun, patched a lot. Seemed like it was either really crappy or really amazing, depending on the day you were using it. But on the days when the Hauer was good, it was really good. In fact, it was arguably too good for a secondary weapon because if you had the right attachments on it, you could get insta-kills from super impressive distances. Now, in other COD games, pump action shotgun getting one-shot kills wouldn't be that annoying. Black Ops Cold War, where the gunfights were supposed to take longer, getting instantly deleted by a secondary weapon could get on your nerves very quickly, and it earned the Hauer a bad reputation. With all that being said, I always thought it was super satisfying to use. I mean, I was that guy running around your Black Ops Cold War lobbies with the chaosgaming. I will admit it, circle of trust. At number 17, the MOG 12 in Black Ops 4. This was one of the first shotguns in COD history to have Dragon's Breath. They were a huge problem. Black Ops 4 used manual healing, so if somebody set you on fire with this, you had to immediately hit the heal button in order to stop the burning. If you took too long to start the healing, you were going to burn to death after getting hit with just one slug. And even if you did hit the heal button in time, your character would be stuck in the healing animation. The enemy player would just go finish you off. Basically, with Dragon's Breath, it was one of the most hated things in the game because of how hard it disrupted the flow of the gameplay. If you were there during the BO4 days, you already know. At number 16, the Kamaka 12 in MWR. I bet a bunch of you forgot this thing even existed. I didn't. DLC weapons in Modern Warfare Remastered were basically all hated because people were not happy about DLC weapons being added to the game in the first place. But the Kamaka 12, it got extra heat from the community because not only was it a full auto spam shotgun and a DLC weapon that nobody ever asked for, it's also pretty easily the best shotgun in the game. Despite being full auto with a pretty big mag, it also had a fantastic 1 to 2 shot kill range, and it was way more versatile than any other original COD 4 shotgun. Now, I don't know why Activision thought people would be okay with this, or they just didn't care. Not only did they add DLC weapons to COD 4, they also added a DLC spam shotgun. It was probably the best shotgun in the game. People were pissed. There was no way around it. At number 15, the SawOff shotgun in COD World War II. Now, unlike most of the shotguns on this list today, the SawOff was not hated because it was powerful or because it was cheap. In fact, it was hated for the exact opposite reason. It was hilariously bad. It was virtually impossible to use until it was buffed several times, even after the buffs. It was a bottom tier weapon. So why was it hated? Well, because it made the camo grind in the game way harder than it needed to be. Not only did the camo challenges require you to use the sawed-off shotgun a lot in order to get the mastery, it also required you to actually get good with it, which literally wasn't possible until Sledgehammer buffed it. If you were actually going to camos and trying to get them in COD World War II when it came out, you probably despised having to use this thing. And I get it. At number 14, the Street Sweeper in Black Ops Cold War. I mean, looking back at Cold War, the shotguns were really annoying. Yes, they were a lot of fun to use, but basically all of them would cause a lot of rage in the game chat. The Sweet Sweeper here, the Street Sweeper, was perhaps the most annoying of them all. That AI couldn't have done that, especially if you were a hardcore player. It was the Black Ops Cold War equivalent of the classic Striker, which meant it had ridiculous ammo capacity, great fire rate, and if you were playing hardcore, which some of you crazy people do, the minimum damage was more than enough to instantly kill you from mid-range. So people would just run around the small and mid-sized maps, spamming the right trigger and getting multi-kills like it was nothing. Now in core modes, it was less obnoxious. In hardcore, it was by far the most hated weapon in its entire class. At number 13, the Reaver in Infinite Warfare. This was a semi-automatic spam shotgun, pretty high fire rate, pretty low damage, and that all balanced it out, right? I'm not sure if that was actually what happened. Very quick time to kill. Since it was a shotgun, you didn't actually have to get very precise with your shots. All you had to do was run up on someone, spam the right trigger a bunch of times, and erase them. This was also, I think this one had a variant that would give you one-hit melee kills or something like that, which that just that added an aspect of unpredictability to a weapon that was already probably annoying. I mean, somebody's running towards you with a shotgun and then poof, you would be instantly dead because there was no way to know they were using an insta-kill variant until it was too late. Come on. Do you guys miss the variant system of games like Advanced Warfare? Like Infinite Warfare? Or do you think they added too much randomness to the experience? Do you think we'll ever go back? At number 12, Proteus in Infinite Warfare. Technically, this was a shotgun sniper hybrid, but it was absolutely the most hated gun in the game for a couple hours. When Infinity Ward added the Proteus to Infinite Warfare, there was a bug that gave it 100% accuracy when it was in shotgun mode, which meant if you went into hardcore mode, you would run around the map, spam the trigger, and as long as somebody was in front of your character, regardless of how far they were dead. And you were almost always going to get a one-shot kill. So yes, there was literally an aimbot built into this when it first dropped. Infinity Ward removed it after a couple hours and didn't put it back in until it was patched. But it absolutely plagued the multiplayer for a few hours before they ever noticed that it was going on. Who doesn't catch this prior to release? Seriously. At number 11, the double barrel in Vanguard. Now, the double barrel was pretty trash on its own, but it quickly became one of the most hated things in the entire game when you equipped it with the akimbo option and the incendiary shells. These two things mixed together turned the Vanguard double barrel into a death machine. Instantly kill people from any distance, set fire to the remains. If you were playing on the smaller maps in Vanguard, you probably saw way too many people running around spraying these things and dominating the entire lobby because even though they had insane killing power, they only held 2 shells at a time. So that reload animation was quick and the one-shot kill box, it was huge. So you literally just run up, spam the triggers, finish at the top of the lobby, and go about your way. And since we are on the subject of double barrel shotguns, at number 10, the 725 in Modern Warfare 2019. This is one of the most toxic weapons in COD history. It was a double barrel monster, doubled as a sniper rifle during the first few months of the game's life cycle because Infinity Ward refused to nerf the range for whatever reason. Even after they patched it to decrease the one-shot kill range, it only took a few hours for people to realize that they had accidentally buffed it instead. Yes, that actually happened. They said they nerfed it in the patch notes, but they actually buffed the one-shot kill range on accident instead. Who hits that button? Who votes? Who does that? Being able to instantly delete anybody in front of you from basically any range made this game so much slower and campier than it already was, and it encouraged everybody to sit in the corners and camp doorways, because if you walked out in the open, you were getting sniped by somebody 30 to 40 to 50 feet away with a 725 shotgun. I wonder if they all put a vote on buffs and nerfs. Do they all just sit in a room and then the ayes have it, or the nays? I was always curious. At number 9, the combat shotgun in COD World War II. This was the very first pump shotgun in COD history to have incendiary shell. Guess what? Hated them back then just as much as we do now. The combat shotgun was hated for several reasons during the COD World War II era, the main reason being just how busted it was compared to all the other shotguns in the game. It was almost hilariously better than every other shotgun in the game, and since it was the only shotgun worth using, that meant every shotgun player had it. And since every shotgun player had it and they were spamming it, that meant you got killed by the incendiary combat shotgun all the time. If you booted up COD World War II and you loaded into shipment or point to hawk and you were going in, you were going to get burned to death by a combat shotgun at least a dozen times by the end of the match. If you hate fire shotguns in Call of Duty, guess what? This is ground zero. This is patient zero. This is where it started. At number 8, the SG12 in Black Ops 4. Now, on its own, it was somewhat underwhelming as a semi-auto shotgun, average secondary weapon at best. But with the infamous strobe light attachment, it became one of the most annoying things in COD history. You could literally strap a flashbang generator, I said that, a flashbang generator to the end of your gun, and after you flash somebody with it, they would lose all their aim assist on top of being blinded. So you would just run up to them, pop them in the face a couple times, and go about your business. You got a freebie. I really want to know, seriously, who over at Treyarch thought it was a good idea to strap a flashbang to the end of a spam shotgun? It was a bad idea, but they did it, and I don't really know how they thought it was going to be a positive addition to the experience, but they did it. At number 7, the R90 in Modern Warfare, the reboot, the infamous Doof Doof. It will live on in COD history forever. Even if you weren't a shotgun user, you knew the R9 because of how ridiculous it was in both core and in the original Warzone. Frankly, I don't think it's hard to see why people hated it so much. I mean, it was a pump-action shotgun that could be fired twice before needing to be pumped by each shot, so it had more than enough power to instantly kill someone, and you could load it up with incendiary shells. And then you could load it up with something like 18 to 20 rounds at a time. You can fact-check me on that, but you could put a bunch of fancy barrels on it. You could extend the one-shot kill range. You could kit it out to be a monster. I mean, how did Infinity Ward not think this was going to be an issue? How did they really think this was going to go over? Pump shotguns usually have a lot of killing power, but there's at least some skill and precision required to use them. The R9 was like what happens when you try to design a pump shotgun with all the positives, but none of the required skill. Yeah, since we're on 2019 Modern Warfare Remastered, rebooted, whatever the heck it was, shotguns, at number 6. The Origin 12. Now, the R9 may have been the meta choice. I would argue the Origin 12 was the more hated of the two simply because of how much easier it was to spam. The Origin 12 was semi-automatic, had the same busted traits as the R9, such as that massive ammo capacity, the extended barrels, the incendiary rounds. But since it was semi, you didn't even have time to do the doof doof. You literally just had to run around the map spamming the right trigger. Since Modern Warfare 2019's time to kill was ultra quick, you could get 20, 30, 40 kills, depending on the map, without ever touching the ADS button. I mean, seriously, come on, Infinity Ward here. At least make some skill required for your shotguns. And now we arrive at the top 5. The AA-12 in Modern Warfare 2 2009. I put this on a hated list, but I love this thing. It was an iconic part of the game. It was one of the most annoying guns in the game to go up against because it was so easy to abuse. It was the first fully automatic shotgun in COD history, but despite having that great rate of fire and relatively low recoil, it had some insane damage values, made it more than capable of an insta-kill. So yes, you could theoretically run into a group of enemies, hold down the trigger, wipe them all out before you ever finish with your magazine, and since this was Modern Warfare 2, shotguns were secondary weapons despite their power, just throw it in your back pocket whenever you wanted. I mean, if you were in a hairy situation, swap to your AA-12, hold down the right trigger, completely erase the problem. Very satisfying, very iconic weapon, but it was hated by many in the Modern Warfare 2 community for how much of a get-out-of-jail-free card it actually was. At number 4. The Model 1887 in Modern Warfare 2, the original. Now, you may remember the models fondly, and so do I. But you have to remember that if you were on the receiving end of it, it was absolutely infuriating. In akimbo mode, it was busted. We know that. Allowed you to take people out from insane distances without even trying to aim precisely. And I know the animations were awesome, and sure, they were fun to use. But if you're ever going up against it, you know why it's here. You would be doing your best to play the game with some integrity. And then someone on the other team would just be sniping everyone from across the map with shotguns that they weren't even aiming correctly. At number 3. The Reclaimer 18 in Modern Warfare 3, the reboot. New Modern Warfare franchise, it's a version of SPAS-12, and the version that showed up in Modern Warfare 3 was not only one of the best shotguns in COD history, easily one of the most hated. Not only could you make this thing semi-automatic, you could dual wield them. So they were akimbo spam shotguns with the power of the SPAS-12. Naturally, they were and still are one of the most spam guns in the entire game. If you play on smaller maps, it's practically impossible to avoid them. It's also the fact that it didn't help. These are one of those weapons where the only true counter was to use them back. So if someone started using the akimbo reclaimers, it was only a matter of time until 3 or 4 people, they whipped out their own akimbos, and they went at it. At number 2, I love this thing too. The Striker in Modern Warfare 3 2011. Before this thing was nerfed, it was arguably the best gun in the game. Definitely one of the best shotguns in COD history. It debuted in the OG Modern Warfare 2, but it got a massive buff for the sequel. Featured a ridiculous one-shot kill range, ridiculous ammo capacity, and ridiculous great fire rate. Since this game had the Specialist Strike package, you could completely counter all the gun's downsides. The long reload animation can be countered with Sleight of Hand Pro. The ammo consumption, countered with Scavenger. Hit fire spread, countered with Steady Aim or Tightened. Loud movement speeds could be countered with dead silence. The striker with specialist was busted, and it led to the gun receiving a massive 33% damage nerf just a few weeks after the game came out. That's a huge percentage. Interestingly, other overpowered guns, ACR, MP7, never nerfed at all. But the striker got completely taken out of commission. I want to know why. And at number 1 today, there was never a doubt. 205 Brettie, Black Ops 3. It's not only the most hated shotgun in COD history, it's also the most hated gun, period. I think so, maybe. Semi-auto shotty, insane range. Ammo capacity was huge. Quick reload, some of the most overly generous damage values ever. It couldn't get an insta-kill, but it would get a 2 to 3 shot kill in basically every scenario. So Treyarch decided to change the way shotguns worked in Black Ops 3. Now, it did make the shotguns feel more consistent and satisfying. It also meant the Brettie was completely busted. They never actually nerfed it for any reason. With the insane ammo capacity, the ease of use, literally all you had to do was hold your joystick forward to keep hitting the right trigger, you would actually outdamage a lot of the guns in the game from mid-range, which was stupid. It was way too easy to use. Much like the Reclaimers from Modern Warfare 3, the only real counter to a competent Brettie user was to whip out your own Brettie. It got to the point where if one person was using it, it took a couple minutes and the entire lobby was using Bretties. This gun single-handedly ruined so many matches in Black Ops 3. And to me, it's the most hated gun in COD history by a pretty wide margin. Easily deserving of the top spot on today's list, and I don't think there's going to be too much debate, but you never know in my comments, they get kind of wild. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you soon.